Yo, what's up guys? This is Kincaid and I am going to check out what is hopefully the next project bike. I've been on the hunt for a while since I finished the Cowie, and the market right now is just absolutely insane. Bikes go for way too much and sell immediately, and I haven't really seen any good projects pop up. So with that said, I'm going to look at a blown up 1998 YZ125. And I always told myself that I will only build bikes 2000s or newer. And that was largely because parts are hard to find and I didn't think people wanted bikes that old. I figure it's just not worth the headache for what the bike would be worth. But with the current market, I've been seeing 90s two-strokes selling. I'm curious to see what condition the cylinder is in, because the guy said it was going to need a cylinder, and I was looking online and you can't really find them. They don't make them anymore. So as long as it's at least repairable by Millennium, we should be good to go with the cylinder, but obviously I need to see it. He said it's missing the header and a couple other things, but overall bike seems relatively complete. So he has it listed for $1,000, which a year ago I would have scoffed at for this bike. And with the current market, I'm like, I'm only bringing 700. And I had messaged the guy and said, you know, every time I buy a bike in pieces like this, they end up needing a lot more than you think. I'd like to respectfully offer you $500. And he had told me a guy was coming to look at it, but he'd let me know. And then that guy ended up bailing. So I'm not sure where he stands on that $500 offer, but I brought 7. We are about 20 minutes away, which is nice. It's always nice to not have to drive too far for project bikes, because I have driven all over Montana for them in the past. So once we check it out, we'll see if I end up pulling the trigger, and if so, I'll show you guys the bike. All right, guys. I am once again leaving my house to go now actually pick up that YZ125. I went to look at it last week. Like I said, I brought $700. He was asking $1,000. Went to go look at it. It will be a good build. A lot of components are reusable. There's a couple things on it that are concerning and hard to find OEM since it's so old. But I didn't buy it that day because he said his bottom line was $900 and I just couldn't do it. I told him I'd pay him $800 if he changed his mind. So he messaged me back today and said, all right, I'll do $800 if you're still interested. And I decided I will pull the trigger. So going to pick up this 98 YZ125 for $800, and I will show you guys the bike once I pick it up. All right, here she is. 1998 Yamaha YZ125. Came in a lot less cardboard boxes than the last bike I bought, but needs a whole lot of love. As you can see here, the piston got seized in the cylinder. The guy said it was after a fresh top end was put in it. The cylinder scoring is not too horrible, but I will send this to Millennium to get replated, and I'm sure they will do an awesome job on that. Radiators are absolutely mangled. We'll need new radiators. It will also need a new silencer. This thing is absolutely wrecked. Didn't come with a header at all. So those are a couple big items, but the wheels are in good shape. This frame was also painted at one point, which is a little bit of a bummer. Although I might keep the white and redo it depending on how I decide to do color scheme on this bike. Unfortunately, somebody sanded this gas tank, and these are super hard to find. So with graphics over it, it won't look too bad, but I also might look into an IMS tank, make it a little oversized, do this kind of an off-road build. So looking over the bike a little bit more,
Obviously, I want to make this thing nice, but I don't think a 98 YZ125 is worth the time, effort, and money that I put into the KX250. Obviously, those Kawasaki's are a little unique. They're getting rare. YZ125s are still around and they're a dime a dozen. So I think the move on this is going to be prioritize getting it running and running well, full engine rebuild, but not necessarily so all out on the entire bike. Make it look nice, make it a bike that someone's going to love and want to ride and be happy with, but don't break the bank doing it. Whereas I spent over $5,000 building that KX250, I'd like to keep this build around $2,000 or less if possible. So if you guys have any input or feedback on what you would like to see happen with this bike, leave it in the comment section below, and I am more than happy to read your comments, go through them, and get some cool ideas. But stay tuned, we will call this the 1998 YZ125 build, episode 1. We'll get started on it pretty soon, doing the full teardown. In the next episode, I will strip the bike down to the frame so we can assess exactly what it needs and go from there. While I'm here, you might notice that the space is a little bit different than before. I have moved, and this is my new garage setup. Very, very happy with it. Built myself a nice new tire rack under a second workbench. I always wanted more space, but did not have enough room for one in the old garage. So have my old workbench sitting right here, toolbox, shelving with all of the common use fluids, and I've got shelving over here with all of my paints and things like that, oils, and then these shelves are up here for exactly this reason. I figured I was gonna need a spot to store parts when I had project bikes. And the awesome thing about this is everything is completely accessible by standing on the workbenches. If I need to get anything big, everything's built nice and sturdy so that I can just get up here. Here's a bunch of wood storage for those sorts of projects. I finally bought a retractable extension cord. I've wanted one of these for ages. They're kind of expensive. This was like 80 bucks, but man, it is gonna be so convenient to have in here. I always get so annoyed having to unspool and respool extension cords, and this thing just makes it super, super easy. Got my Ducati Monster and my 250XC TPI. That is my main bike that I ride. Got the ski and snowboard rack, my ramp, power washer, street bike wheel stand, unicycles, bunch of camping gear, my moto gear, gas cans, backpack rack, helmet rack, and then just a bunch of decor, air compressor, and this is my ski and snowboard wax stand. So that is the new shop. This is where you guys will be seeing the builds go on from now on.